in live, but be tuning in on the meeting live. Sorry, not tuning in on our Zoom, but watching through meeting live, YouTube. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Oh, we're live now. Are we ready? Yes. Everybody ready? Okay, I'm going to call the Public Works and Environmental Services Committee meeting to order at 5 o'clock, Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. It's held electronically and transmitted via council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan, per the ministerial order of M192. I want to acknowledge that we are on the Subatsit territory, and we live and work with the people and are pleased to do so. I'll call the meeting to order. Any introduction of late items? Mr. Fernandez, did you have any? You're muted. No, I have one. I talked about it after at the agenda meeting. We didn't get it on. It's a discussion regarding a lighted crosswalk at South Shore and Point Ideal. And it's just a matter of a discussion. And we want to make sure that we are approved by ICBC and the MOTI. So if we can put that under F, new business, please. There's a lot of new business, but it's all quick stuff, I think, fairly quick. Anything else for the agenda? No? Okay. Can I have approval of the agenda, please? Councillor Sandu and Mayor Day, all in favor? Okay. Business arising and unfinished business, none at the moment. Ongoing items still being addressed, parking limits and enforcement of same. We'll have our superintendent speak to that when he unmutes.
So as you can see in the memo, council have asked staff to come up with a report. Just don't even have to mute that. Just once. Yeah, we had some echoing here. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we ended up meeting with Jake's and the Tube Shack. So we've come up with an agreement where the town is going to build another additional parking lot between Point Ideal Road and the ballpark, and that'll should be able to accommodate approximately 40 cars. So that is under construction now, and hopefully week and a half's time that'll be all ready for them to start using when the traffic comes to town.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
And then all through town, Saywell, that general area, it's gonna be all 2-hour parking. Robin's parking will be working with us. There'll be signage everywhere, and also it'll be monitored with staff to make sure that people aren't parking longer than 2 hours. And there'll be tickets issued if they are.
Oh, sounds good. Are there any questions from the mayor or councillors? Oh, Joe, did you have something first? You're mute.
Just for council's information, we're not going to be marking any tires. The machines will be automatically monitoring the time, and so the tickets will be issued subsequently.
Thank you. Mayor Day?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So just while we're on the topic of parking, there's been some questions in the community about access to Centennial Park. Will the public be able to have access either through the main gate or through this parking area at any time? So let's just say the COVID regulations relax a bit and folks are allowed to go out and play a little bit of baseball, 10 or 20 at a time. Are they going to be able to get near the field, or where would they be parking?
They'll be able to get near the field. If that's the case, we can open the gate. We can start opening it during the day and locking it in the evenings. or they can walk into. The gate that's there right now, we plan on moving it closer to the ball field anyways. Because right now where it's sitting, there's no, even if somebody comes to the gate, it's not a very good turnaround area. So we're going to move the gate closer to the ballpark, and we'll start opening the gate if need during the day. And that'll be during the weekdays. Other than that, on weekends, they'll have to walk in.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up. So any idea on when the date that would start happening would be?
We can do it anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sandhu?
Well, this kind of goes in tune with the parking regarding people using the ball field. So is there a process of not renting or putting your name to use the fields, like for ball teams? Where, like, is there a contact through the town or the arena that, so, there's availability in the evenings?
That's through Linda.
Yeah.
For the arena, yes. She does all the bookings for us.
So any evening games, whatever, that's then through her, then it would be, yeah, okay.
Councillor McGonigal?
Thank you. Back to the staff report. Thank you very much for bringing this back to us with some ideas and suggestions. I think this will be a good template for a trial for this year to see how it transpires. I'm sure there will be some bugs. We can always readdress them after the tourist season. As for baseball, etc., I think when public health orders do relax, that would be the time that field would be allocated for such activities. We certainly don't want to open it up as a dog park, which it's currently being utilized as. And although it's great fertilizer, it's not good for our staff to pick up. So once that has been relaxed, that would go through Lake Couch Recreation. Thanks for the staff report and the work on trying to come to a solution.
Yes, thank you. We've had a lot of questions over parking. I see another chap on our Zoom. Is he a guest? Is he a new councillor?
That's Mike Hewitt. He's on the agenda. So he's going to help us with understanding the operations of the water treatment plant.
Oh, right. Okay, good.
You can most certainly take over my position because I think I'm a ticketed #1 with all the information that Mike has afforded me. If you wish.
Wish I could remember everything. Okay, thank you. I thought he looked familiar. I'm going, wait a minute, who is that? Okay. Anything else on that? And thank you, Jazz. That's a great report. We've had a lot of questions on parking. I just had to talk to someone today, and that sounds great.
I guess,
sorry.
If I may, I think when it comes to the parking issue, if you just leave it to staff to manage it, it would be a lot easier.
I'm not managing it. Why? Did you say I was, hello? I did write a report last year, but nobody listens to me anyway, so that's fine. Delegations and representations, none. Correspondence, the first one is A, Decibel Coalition regulations of excessive boat noise. We have that report. What's your pleasure with that? Everybody?
Receive and file.
Do we want to do that? Yeah, okay. Do I have a seconder? Do we have to motion that one?
No, just receive and file.
Receive and file. Okay, thank you. We understand that. Everybody's read it. So, okay. The second one is Gerard Specialty Foods, request for loading zone. I think that was already dealt with previously. What do we want to do with that one? Mr. Fernandez.
Yeah, that came to the committee last year, I believe, and I dealt with the rider last year, and she was not very happy with council's decision not to allow a loading zone. I think if you start allowing a loading zone, every business on Main Street will want a loading zone, and I don't think that should be afforded to businesses.
Mayor Day?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen this letter one time in the past before, or at least heard the request. And you know what? I think loading zones are good to have in place when there's multiple businesses around and they're busy and used all the time. My personal experience, and probably the reason why staff said no in the first place, is there's no reason to designate a large loading zone area for 1 or 2 trucks a week, or a regular passenger vehicle to pull up and load about 20 or 30 boxes. So I personally don't see the need to designate a loading zone in that area.
Okay, any comment from anyone else? Councillor McGonigal.
That's not to say that the current area can't be utilized for offloading and loading, which it currently is. But by designating it, you're taking away the option for passenger parking as well during certain times, as that would be signage, et cetera, that would be required. I think, again, this is the second time it's come forward, and I couldn't support it this time either. Sorry.
Do we want a motion on that to support or not support? Like, what would you like to do?
Direction to staff to deal with the letter writer with our response.
With our response, because I don't support it as well. So thank you. Okay. Our next item is verbal comments from the public on a subsequent item on the agenda. It's general@lakecowichan.ca or 749-6681. We have another section at the bottom later on for anything that only items that are on the agenda. So we'll adjourn for 3 minutes to 5:14. Is that right? And see if we get any questions. Okay, is everybody ready to come back? It's 5:14. Mr. Fernandez, do we have any phone calls or emails?
Madam Chair, none.
None. Nobody loves us. Okay. So we'll move on to reports. Oh, I'll wait for Christine and Dalton. There she is. Is Dalton coming back?
He's just listening.
Okay. So the first report is Superintendent of Public Works Engineering Services Public Works Report for April 2021.
Okay, so our work in progress, we're flushing water mains right now, May through June. We just about got them complete, a couple more days and we'll have it all done. We're still flushing some sanitary lines, catch basins and culverts. We're still doing the maintenance on them, cleaning the inlets and outlets. Potholes, there's some to repair around town. We haven't had any time to do it in the last couple of weeks, but scheduled to do it hopefully next week. Sanitary pump station, we've got some maintenance to do there. I've got getting some quotes coming in. Hopefully we'll have them next week. And pump station number 4 on Pine Street, we got to do some work on. Arbutus streets, the sanitaries out for quotes. We extended the deadline a week. Just things are so busy. The contractors weren't able to get all the prices. The oil spill on Park Road, that's an ongoing project still. Stantec is the engineer on it, and they're keeping us on a weekly, they keep us the reports weekly, so we know what's going on there. Town's paving and sidewalk projects are, we've pretty much figured out what we're gonna do. The paving is starting next week. Duncan Paving will be in 26th, 27th, 28th to do Joel Road and King George Road Avenue. We're gonna, on King George, we're gonna do the crossing at the Trans-Canada Trail, and then from there up to the roundabout, pave that section. So the downtown parking, we spoke about that already. Summer, we got a few other projects we're still planning for throughout the summer. And then just again, like I say, the sidewalks, all the brush and grass, everything's, it's that time of the year. It'd be nice if the residents could take their part and trim up the brush and grass or whatever that needs to be dealt with in front of their homes. And that's about it. The banners, I think we talked about that last time. The banners are completed in town. They're all up now. We did get a chance, Caroline, the ones we got from the students, we put those up along Point Ideal Road.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they look beautiful. They're great, very colorful. There's 3 more we still have, but we didn't have enough poles, so we're just trying to figure out a place to put the other 3. So just so the kids, they've done a great job, so we want to show those things off.
Well, thank you for that. Yes, they'll appreciate being able to see them.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Sandhu? I have a couple. One question is, some of the sidewalks, especially over my way, and I'm not telling you to, it's not mine at my house or anything, but they still have a lot of moss on them. You usually clean those off in the spring, don't you?
Spring or summer, I believe they do,
Okay.
yeah. We do have plans on doing some power washing. We're just trying to get a few other items done. We should have those wrapped up here by the long weekend, so then we can get some of the summer students starting to power wash the sidewalks. There's a number of them around town that have the
Yeah.
moss issue.
Yes, there are. There are quite a few. So, and also with the transportation study, did they come back with anything about doing a raised crosswalk at the Trans-Canada Trail at King George or not? Does anybody know? I didn't.
No, the answer is no.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there was a little bump there before. It was to do with water. There's quite a bit of drainage in that one side on the church side. You'll see it's wet a lot. So I think that's why they did that little bump there for the drainage, but.
We're going to be, when we do this paving, we're going to be addressing that.
Oh, good.
We're going to be putting new curbs at the bottom. They'll stick out onto the road. Well, not onto the road, but they'll be defined a lot better, and it'll be easier to see there's a crossing there. And that wet spot towards the church, we're going to bring that up and feather it out about approximately 11 to 12 meters, so it'll take that wet spot out of there.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good. Well, thank you. Okay, thank you for your report. No other questions? Okay, thank you. The next one, again, will be our superintendent regarding the water treatment plant update.
Water treatment plant is operating as it's supposed to. We haven't had any issues. Yeah, so it's all working as we're supposed
Got your
to.
report? Yeah, looks good.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? No, thank you again for that. And the last one is the April 2021 Operations Performance Report. Now, I believe that's on the water treatment plant as well. Is that Mr. Hewitt doing that?
You want to do that one today,
No,
Mike?
whoever does that, who's doing that?
Oh, it might as well be Mike, he's here.
Yeah.
Just,
Oh, you're both muted. They're moving around. It's okay.
He's new at this.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. We were just moving around there.
That's okay.
So I'll just cover the highlights. So it's likely that in April we have the lake turnover. So I could see the chemistry changing in the water that was coming in. So the temperature went up quite a bit, went from 9 degrees to 13 degrees, and the turbidity dropped from 0.5 to 0.3. So that was good. And the pH went up. So it's all things that happened within a short time. So likely that was the turnover with the increasing temperatures.
Right.
But everything kept within limits, and the quarterly sampling was conducted in April as well. So we should have those results third week this month or so from the lab.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Fernandez?
Yeah, and I wondered if Mr. Hewitt would deal with the issues that we've been corresponding with Island Health on this, on the matter of the aluminum. Maybe.
Oh yeah, so we're still monitoring. So what we use a coagulant, it's a chemical that contains aluminum. So basically in water treatment, you only have two choices. You either use iron or you use aluminum. And they both have a positive charge, if you remember the periodic table of elements. So those are the two. Out of those two, definitely the aluminum one is easier to use and work with. So that's the one that's more commonly used, and that's the one that we use as well. So because of that, we also monitor the aluminum concentration in the treated water. And there's an operational guideline of 0.1, but we were a little above that. So we also started testing the raw water. And it turns out the raw water is above 0.1 as well. So we got the water we got. And it's still pretty good. It's an operational guideline. It's not a maximal allowable concentration. It's a guideline. So it's something that we're definitely monitoring. And Island Health gets the report every month.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Oh, that's a good report. Yes, thank you very much for that. Oh, Mr. Fernandez?
Madam Chair, because we've got the water treatment plant presentation at the bottom, I wondered if you council would
Sure.
like to move it up so Mike
Can go home.
go home.
Sure. Is that okay with everyone to move the water treatment plant presentation up? Okay, we'll do
Now,
that now.
do you want that presentation live, or because I can put it on?
Yes, if
Yeah.
you can. Yeah.
Yeah, just
I'm interested.
bear with me.
Uh-oh. Share screen.
There's green. You see it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Just wondered if everybody's aware it is 27 minutes long. Are we
Yeah.
all set to manage that time?
But do you want to or not? Just cite or forever hold your peace.
27. Oh, we're only allowed 10 minutes. I don't know if we can have that 27. Could you fast forward a little bit? I don't know.
Or you can speak to it if you want.
Yeah, and just move along. Yeah, whatever.
Or you speed it up to 1.25, that would make it quicker.
1.25, you would do that.
No.
Then you don't, okay.
At 1.5, I start sounding like Elvin and the Chipmunks, but 1.2.
Now I got a problem. Yeah, see, okay, here we go. Yeah. And I got to share it. Let me share it.
Okay.
Want to speed it up first?
Yeah.
1.5?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, no, geez.
There we go.
Right here, the operating here, the couch, or official plan. The presentation here, let's take salt free process. Oh, we've lost the sound.
Yeah.
Because I get it, huh? I'll do it again.
It'll play the sound.
Yeah, but the sound will be not.
I'll move this back.
Hold it back. Okay. And make this 1.5.
Yeah.
And then
Okay, ready to hit play?
Let's take us all through the process, starting with where the water comes from, the couch in. We'll go through what we call population, filtration, disinfection. We'll also talk about a little bit about what operator does and some subsystems in the plant. So let's go to where the water comes in, it's in the bottom left here. Right here. So our water source is Horse Lake Couch Inn. There's a pump house on North Shore Road, 3 pumps in there. Water comes in to the plant, and the first thing we do is we call a coagulant. A coagulant is a positively charged chemical, and it will cause the negative particles in the water to opposite attract, so it will cause a flock. And we do that so that it increases the effectiveness of our filtration system. The water comes in the pipe and goes into flock tank 1 through 3. So I'll show a picture of what a flock tank looks like. This is one of the flock tanks. They all look very similar. There is at the top a motor that's driving the, basically like a blender, really. Going at slow speed, you don't want it to run too fast because then you actually break up the flow. So there's a certain ideal speed that you want. The water mixes. This is called mechanical mixing. And there's also hydraulic mixing because the water goes over and under. And so just that hydraulic mixing also contributes to mixing in like the water. So from flocculation, then we can go to filtration. So I've got a picture of a filter here. We've got 2 filters at this plant. Both look very similar. This is one of them. This is filter 2 in this case. The water comes in to the troughs and down the filter medium. You can see the top of the filter medium. It is composed of anthracite with a gravel underbase and an underdrain beneath that. So the filters will run for, well, we can adjust the hours by which they run, but they typically run between 24 to as long as 64 hours, depending on water quality. So the better the water quality, the longer the filters run. They go, there's a certain number of parameters that it trigger to go into what we call backwash. So this is the backwash here. So right away into the water is cloudy, it's dirty. This is all the material that we removed after many hours of filtration. So the backwash process there is at the top in white. You can see first thing we do is close the effluent valve. So now the filter is no longer producing. Then we begin, then it draws down so that we're about 3 to 4 inches above the filter medium. And then at that point, we do what we call an air scour. So it's lower on site that will push air through the bottom, and that agitates everything in the filter medium and breaks up any adherence particles to the anthracite. And then we do this 2-stage backwash, low flow. So it's right at the air scour. Actually, while the air scour is ending, at the very end of it, the low flow comes up. So it's actually doing the air scour and a low flow at the same time. Then it goes through a longer low flow backwash, and then hits a high flow backwash. And that basically just pushes more water through at a faster rate, and you got basically you're washing out all this brown material. At the end of the backwash, that water coming up is a lot clearer. So this is somewhere near the beginning half of the backwash. And then when we go through is what's called maturation. So the filter will think of it's filtering to waste, so it will filter to our waste tank for an extended period of time because there's still stuff in the media bit. So the only way you can do it is either push it up to the top or you take it to the bottom. So in the video, in the picture here, we can see it's going to the top. And after that, after the backwash pumps is stopped, then we do the maturation, which is normal operation, but filtering to waste. And then that goes for a period of time until what we call turbidity goes low. And the whole purpose of the coagulant and filtration and everything is to, well, several reasons, but the main reason we're doing it is to get what we call turbidity of the water. Turbidity is a measure of how cloudy the water is. And the reason it's important to get very clear water is potential pathogenic bacteria can seek refuge in very small particles in the water. So if we take all that out, even though our eye can't see it, it gives the bacteria nowhere to hide for our disinfection process. So that's what we're covering next. So we've got 2 disinfection processes here at this plant. We've got one that is UV, and the second one is chlorination. So I'll take a picture. So here is the called the pipe gallery. So now we're exiting the filters. The white pipe at the top, that is the PA is pressurized air. That's for that first stage of the backwash. The pipe to the bottom, that is where we're collecting water from the bottom of the filters. And then I'll show you, so this is the foreground of this picture. That's our UV system. And here it is here. So we've got 2, everything in this plant and water plants in general is twin. And the reason for that is, well, it's twofold. One is in case you lose a system, it's redundant so that you have another system. And the more
normal reason why there's always two is that way you can take one half of it down, do maintenance, and then switch over to do maintenance on the other half. So, different disinfection systems between the two. That's the reason why there are two tanks for filters. Everything's basically at least. So that's our UV. So basically, we zap it. There's three bands of UV: UVA, B. Those are the two that we're familiar with, and C is a lot more energetic and it's damaging to DNA. So we actually don't get C here because the atmosphere takes it out, but anything that's in this water here is getting zapped by UVC, so it doesn't really stand much of a chance. And then we got chlorination. So this is the it's right after UV we chlorinate the water. This plant's interesting in that we actually generate chlorine from regular salt. You can see in the foreground we have bags of salt that gets put into the tank that's on our right, in the front right. So we put a bag of salt in there every couple of days, and the unit against the wall behind that tank is the actual device that will separate the salt and create hypochlorite from the chloride ions. So it's pretty neat because basically it reduces shipment of having to get deliveries, offloads of sodium hypochlorite because we make it right on site and we make it as we need it, which is pretty good. And it's salt, so it's pretty safe to handle. And whenever it gets to the sodium hypochlorite, it's all in the system here. So it certainly makes the operator's life a lot easier. And we generate quite a bit of sodium hypochlorite from these 20 kg bags. Look at here's the MCC. This is the main control center. This is all the big electric breakers and whatnot for the systems here. So a lot of different readouts on that, those panels and all the breakers. So go back to the overview here. So we generally covered from how the water's coming in, goes to flock to mix in the coagulant to make flock, which will get caught in our filter bed. Then now we've got water that is very clear and it goes to disinfection. First gets zapped by the UV and then we chlorinate it. So I haven't showed you the coagulation pumps. These are the two pumps, and this is the day tank of the coagulant. This is the chemical that we use to cause the particles in the water to form flock. It is assisted by what we call polymer. So the easiest way to think of this is polymer is sort of a long thread, and it's sticky. So the coagulated particles will stick to these filaments, and that assists in the formation of flock. And I don't have a picture of the flock, unfortunately, but it's sort of a very fluffy brown material. It almost looks like some kind of algae or something, but it's a chemical process, and it's binding all the material in the water that can't see with the naked eye and clumping it together so filters take them. Then another system I didn't really touch on too much was the soda ash. So pH is another parameter that we look at here in this plant and all plants in general. So water that you produce from a water treatment plant has to be kept within a range. And that range is between 7 and 10.5. So pure water with absolutely nothing in it is 7. If it has any sort of minerals in it, it will generally go higher. So it's more basic. And any sort of acid in it will make it less than 7. So for instance, rainwater is 6.2 or 6.5. And that's because rain interacts with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and makes carbonic acid. Now, carbonic acid is a very weak acid, but it's an acid nonetheless. So that's why rainwater is typically a little more acidic. Now, the reason it's important in water treatment processes is basically, it's not really for health reasons. Humans, Coca-Cola is 2.5 pH, for instance. It's basically to protect the infrastructure of the distribution system. So if water is acidic, even mildly acidic, over time it will dissolve concrete. So all the reservoir, a lot of concrete piping, that will require increased replacement. So in order to avoid that, we increase the pH to above 7. On the other side of the spectrum, we don't want the water to be too basic because then there's too much dissolved in it, and we get what we call scaling. So very common scaling will be the white incrustation that you see along fixtures and that sort of thing, shower doors. But over time in your distribution system, that will collect on the inside of the pipes, and if that run long enough, it will actually completely fill the pipe. So that's why we keep it in the fan, 7 to 10.5. And we don't have to worry about pH. pH naturally here is not going to get above 10.5, but it may drop below 7. And it'll drop below 7 for 2 reasons. One is rainwater is slightly acidic. So the rain is, if we just have a rain event, goes to the lake and then has no time to dissolve minerals, then that could potentially, although very slightly, drop the pH below 7. The other one is the coagulant chemical we use is naturally acidic. So the more I use, the lower the pH of the water. That becomes more pronounced in the winter months. So you get hit with the double whammy because in the winter months, there's a lot of rain here. So in addition to the naturally slightly acidic rainwater, we also get more turbid, and the water becomes there's more turbidity in the water because of all the runoff and what have you. So I need to add more coagulant. So that also decreases pH. So I need to add more soda, particularly in the winter months. So let's go and look at let's talk about analyzers. So there's a lot of different analyzers around this plant. And these what we're looking at here are 2 chlorine analyzers. The one on the left is measuring the chlorine at the inlet of the reservoir, and the one on the right is the outlet of the reservoir. And the reason we're measuring both sides is when everyone who's been to a swimming pool, when you open the door, you smell that chlorine. Same chemicals, just pools we use a lot more of it, but it's the same in drinking water, and it will naturally off gas. It's gas that's in the water, so it's going to want to leave. So in the reservoir, we always have higher chlorine in the inlet than in the outlet. So there's another set of limits that the water can't be there can't be too much chlorine in the water, and there can't be too low. And So we always measure the outlet, and but when I do change my dosing, it affects the inlet more so. So you have the two, you see what's going on, and then I just have to adjust my pumps accordingly. We also have analyzers that will monitor turbidity. These are the filter effluent turbidity meters. Well, that's where the information is going. So you see here we got 2.3 and 2.25, and so to the human eye, we would not be able to tell the difference between 0.23 and 0. It wouldn't change. When you start getting to 100, that would be very cloudy, and you couldn't see through it, but light still go through it. And 5, you might sort of see how the water looks a little bit cloudy, but you're kind of I'm not too sure. So, and again, we want to keep that turbidity very low so that any sort of bacteria has nowhere to hide. So those two main sets of analyzers we have here. Let's go look at what we call the SCADA. This is the see it spelled out there, supervisory control and data acquisition. And the term HMI, that's human machine interface. So big fancy way of saying basically the computer screens. So on these screens, I can, or any operator, control all the systems and subsystems of the plant here. So you can turn on and off pumps. This one here is our soda ash system. So in tank 1, you can see the purple, that's indicating the water level. So there's a hopper. We put in so I'll show you this. So here's the soda ash system. So there's the white granular powder there. That's the soda ash itself. That's what we use to raise pH. Put it in the hopper. Below that, there's a water tank. And there's a mixer there that keeps it always mixed. And then we use a pump to put that into the water. Let's go back to the SCADA. So that's the SCADA drawing is attempting to show here. So you got the hopper, feeder 1, feeder 2, and then the purple is the water in the tank underneath. So right now we see a tank 2, the water level is around below 50%. When it goes down to 5 inches, that system will go into batch making mode, and I'll switch over to mixer 1 or system 1. And then while system 1's running, 2 is making a batch until it fills up, and then it'll keep running 1 until it runs low, and then switch to the 2, switch back and forth. Again, on that theme of always having 2 systems. So sorry, there's more SCADA here as well. Here's an example of pump unfiltered. So this filter is actually stopped because what's turning on the off the filters, it's an automated system process that is dictated by the reservoir level. So when the reservoir level is high, it calls for the filters to turn off, and then the reservoir slowly drains down as it's being consumed by the town. Once it's a low, then it will automatically turn on the filters. So here, these are the set points here. So I've got these are the points that I've adjusted here. So if we ever got to 98, that would be sick. I'm actually getting alarms on my phone telling me that there's an issue, and potentially you could have overflow. So, but before that, the system's going to tell the filters to stop. It'll tell the filter to stop at the lead pump stop at 94. So it'll tell the filters to stop at 94. The water level comes down until it hits 84. That's when the lead pump will start, and then we'll go bring the reservoir. Now, let's say we had firefighters. There was a fire in town, and we had a very strong draw on the water. So one pump at the pump house may not be able to keep up, so it'll keep dropping down the reservoir until it hits 75, and then at that point, the leg pump will kick in. So now I've got 2 pumps running, and I've got to supply plenty of water and keep up with that increased demand. So let's talk about preventive maintenance here. So here we've got, these are the filter effluent meters, and here you can see there's a glass vial at the bottom, and what I'm using there is a device there, sort of a rubber tip on it, and that cleans the inside of that vial. And that device there, it measures turbidity by sending a light beam through it and scattering, and it measures by the scattering to determine how cloudy the water is. Turbidity is in it. If the glassware isn't clean, well, that's not a very accurate measure. So that is quite routinely kept clean. Every time I come in, if the filters aren't running, I'll open those up and clean, just to ensure that we're reading correctly. Here I'm replacing a called peristaltic pump tube. So this is for the polymer, and there's that middle piece there has got 4 white rollers on it. And it spins round and round, and it forces whatever's in that tube to be drawn and put out at a very metered pace into wherever it's going. Those tubes are made of it's very tough plastic material, and they do eventually wear out. So they'll run for 500, 750 hours. If they run long enough, they will actually split. And these machines are actually smart enough that if they detect any moisture inside, that pump will automatically shut down. And again, these are twin, so that pump would shut down and the secondary pump would turn on. And but the tubes are replaced on an hourly basis, so that eventually not happen. But if it does, there's another fail-safe in there that the pump will stop. So here's a calibration tube, and the purpose of this is these pumps they're given a display about how much they're pumping, but the calibration tube is there to verify that the actual rate is what's being displayed. So how we do that is valve off the day tank and then open the valve to this calibration tube. You can see there's marks along the side of this tube, and it will tell me in milliliters, and I time it with a stopwatch how much is pumped. And that ensures that the meter is accurate, and if it's not, I can make an adjustment. And so again, there's a lot of checks and verification here. Here's an example of a checklist. So this is for the OSHG, which is the on-site sodium chloride generation. So that's the room with all the bags of salt. So the operator would come in, indicate the date, time, initials. There's a couple of pre-filters there. They're just cartridges. If they're looking dirty, then you replace them. Indicate how many bags of salt you've added, and indicate what the pump volumes are underneath the pump 451 and 461. And these are daily checks. There's a lot of these checklists, around whenever there's basically a system operating, just check this stuff, goes and knows what to check and verifies that the system's running. So let's go into lab testing here. So there's a number of different things we do. This is a jar testing here. I've got here 6 beakers. These are actually little mini, think of mini flock tanks. So again, you have the blade at the bottom that's spinning round and round, and you do different things. You adjust the speed and make all the concentrations of chemicals the same, or you keep the speed the same and adjust the concentrations of the chemicals. And this basically, it's just a way of mimicking what's going on in the flock tanks, and you do 6 different scenarios at once, and you see which one is performing the best. And then that would, you can scale it up to your plant and just optimize your process. The other way of doing that is through this data sizer, and this gets into some pretty complicated optics and whatnot. Basically, there's lasers that will shine through the sample you put in there, and the deflection, it can tell you through some sort of wizardry of math that what the zeta, what they call zeta potential, which is the actual charge around these particles in millivolts is. And then from that, you do some testing, and you can tell, okay, so my optimal dosage for coagulant at this zeta potential is X. And every day you come in, you test what your zeta potential is. If it moves, then you know you can adjust your coagulant accordingly. So it's actually a lot quicker than this way, and it gives you a hard number. So once you've got that established, you can set your coagulant dosages accordingly. Here's a handheld turbidimeter here. So an earlier photograph there, I was showing cleaning the online effluent turbidimeter. So we got to verify that those are reading correctly. So basically also run a test on the handheld. And for the handheld, there's a set of standards that have known turbidity. It's a gel, so it actually never changes. So I can put those in this device and make sure that this device is reading correctly. So from the standards in the handheld device, it's monitored to make sure that the online turbidimeters are reading correctly. And it also has standards for the online analyzer as well. So there's a lot of checking that goes on. A lot of it's daily, some of it's weekly, but it's a lot of checking just to make sure that the online instrumentation is reading correctly. Because if it's not, then you really don't know what's going on. So you've got to really ensure that everything is reading correctly and what you have confidence in what those numbers are. And all those numbers are actually recorded in the SCADA, and it's set up for a monthly download. And so that information there is used to create the monthly reports. So that's always a continual process of verifying the numbers right. Then put together the chart in the report, you can start seeing trend, you can start doing trend analysis. So there's seasonality to the lake, which will affect the water quality, and you have to do seasonal adjustments to your chemicals or your process, or make adjustments to flock speeds. There's all kinds of different variables that can be adjusted, and it's more or less always optimizing the process to make sure that it's cost effective and make water safe as we can. One last thing I want to cover is just the plant, say if you were to plant classification. So the EOCP, they're the board that regulate the certification of both operators and also the facilities. And so there's this here's an example for this plant of the criteria that were analyzed to determine the classification of the plant. So at the very top here, you see size and scale. It used to be that plants were largely classified according to their size. So a town of 1 million people would generally have class 4, and a town of 300 would be class 1. But they've moved away a bit in that model. You see that's represented in 0 here. And now they look more at the technology being used. So in this plant, I've worked in larger facilities as well. This plant here in the couch, even though it's small, it's got just about every subsystem that a larger facility. So the technology is actually the same, it's just a smaller scale. So what they've done is they now classify plants according to the technologies used. So it starts right here at the intakes and raw water. And it wants to know if you've got, it's groundwater, is it lake water? What's the land use around the water? Is it protected watershed? All these things give points. And here you see the technology. So where the X applies down. So we use soda ash, so we score 6 points there. We get additional polymers, so that's another 7 points. On-site generation of sodium hydrochloride, that scores 8 points, so on and so forth. So it goes through all the different technologies that we have on this list here. And at the very bottom, it will generate a number. And according to that number is your classification. So it scores as a 3. We're actually the high range of a 3. So if any additional technology was incorporated in this plant, it may potentially push this over into a 4. And if you need an operator basically has the same certification as the plant. So it's a pretty, once you get the classifications down, it makes a pretty clear cut qualifications of the operator that you need to run a particular facility. So it's a pretty good system. And that is everything for my overview here. So you see the whole thing. Yeah, we've covered all the main pieces of the water plant here. And that's it. We're available for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great. I'll watch it again in a slower fashion.
Yeah, that's me at 1.5.
1.5. Wow, that's good. Councilor McGonigal, you had something?
I think at 1.5, you sound a little bit more like Simon.
Probably, yeah. Not like Elvin.
Not Elvin, I think Simon. But you spoke about the classification of not only the plant, but the operator has to coincide.
Yeah.
So if it's a level 3 plant, we need a level 3 operator. There was discussion about implementing perhaps an algae component into the treatment plant in the future if needed? And would that reclassify the system?
I believe it would, yeah, because we're almost at the top end of the class 3 classification. So that the system you're talking about, I think, was the DAF, dissolved air flotation. And I think it gave enough points to push us into the 4.
And if I may, that's not to suggest that that is needed at this time. I believe we've only had one algae event in the time that I can recollect. But given future circumstances, that could be implemented or mandated by Island Health. And at that time, that would have to be reclassified.
Yeah, it could be. One note, we always test on a monthly basis something called microcystin. And that is a compound that's released from cyanobacteria. And I'm almost coming up to my 1-year mark here. So we've almost got data from every month. And so far it's been non-detectable. So that's a good thing. So at this point in time, there does not seem to be any indication that we're gonna have an issue with algae, but you know, algae's biology, so things can change.
That's correct. And I'm not a biologist or a water treatment operator, but appreciate the presentation. And I'm hoping that perhaps we can put a link to this on our website and listen to it at a slower
rate.
Yeah.
Mayor Day, you had your hand up, I believe. Did you?
Yeah. The topic of a water treatment plant tour was brought up several months ago because of COVID. We don't do it in person, but I found this even better to have you relaxed and discussing each part of this treatment plant and making it very understandable for us. And I'm looking forward to being able to share this on our website and things like that, because you know what, for those who have an interest in it, it's very interesting to know and gives us a lot of confidence in our water treatment system. So thank you very much, Mike. And it's great to have you with us as a member and an operator at our water treatment plant.
You're welcome, and thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else? No? Okay, thank you. So we'll go back to new business. Thumbs up, yes. Oh, we can do that on the bottom somewhere, right? Lost it now. Reactions, thumbs up, yes, there you go. There should be little applause hands there, but you know, we'll have to figure that one out. Okay, we'll go back to new business. We'll start with community cleanup, number 8A. Mayor Dave, was that your baby or?
So Councillor Sandu brought it to my attention, I believe, the day it happened, and I think I noticed it the day before it happened, and it looks like something that was organized for the Corps, and for whatever reason, we weren't involved in it, and that's okay. Looks like the Cowichan and Tribes may have led it. I'm not sure if Councillor McGonigal could give a little more insight, but the conversation that Councillor Sandu and I had was, would this be something council would be interested in trying to do this year? We missed Earth Day, or if it's something that we'd like to get on board with next year and coincide with the event when it happens next year. So it's all about clean up where you are, and it was all planned, and I read all the details. It's about everybody just getting out and cleaning up in their own neighborhood, safe and social distance manner, and dropping off the bags or putting them out and getting garbage tickets so that it'd be extra bags that the Public Works would pick up. So just putting it out there. I'd be happy to do it this year if the council's appetite said so, or we can wait till next year.
Any comments? I think it's a great idea myself. Oh, Councillor Sandu, I think you were first.
Could we coincide our day, say, with River Cleanup Day? You know how they do that at the end of the summer or early September. So we could kind of have a plan in place for the community. I don't know, or sooner. I was just trying to think of if we can connect to something people might take more of an interest, like if we promote it, because I know there's good promotion on the river cleanup that is covered by other organizations.
Sounds
But
good.
if you've got a different date, I'm for anything. I really want us to look at this in the future as these specific dates, like Earth Day, like what does that mean? And just the Cowichan Valley, they did organize within North Cowichan, the city of Duncan, CVRD areas, and Cowichan Tribes. So it'd be nice for us next year to get involved with Sabatsits and and us organize something as a community. So,
Yes, I agree with that. Councillor McGonigal? Oh,
Let's try that again. That's this year's Thesaurus edition. You're muted.
yes.
Anyway, I think we have implemented cleanup days in the past, councillors. Council and mayor have gone out with the public as well. I think collaborating with the river cleanup this year might be an appropriate approach. I don't recall an invite on the Cowichan Valley and Cowichan Tribes and North Cowichan one. I think that was basically centered around the core, the central core. So expanding that next year, perhaps on that day, to cooperate in that cleanup may be an idea. I think staff would have to look at how we can collaborate with a pickup or a drop-off point similar to what's being implemented perhaps on the broom busting might be an idea. But if we piggyback on river cleanup this year and publicize it, I think that might be an appropriate approach.
Do we want to bring this forward to the next meeting and discuss it and just keep it on the agenda until we've firmed it up, or what's your pleasure? Councillor Sandhu?
we could have staff just report back. I mean, the river cleanup is tentative right now. It's due to COVID, right? So they're planning on it, but with the Cowichan River Stewardship Society and also the Cowichan Watershed Board. So it's tentative, but
Okay.
yeah. That's...
Mayor Day, did you have a?
Yeah, I just think it's a great idea to do it at that time of year and coincide with that event. I mean, if we were to do it before summer, it's a little bit of a rush to get it planned out. So
Yeah.
Great idea. And maybe Councillor Sandhu could keep us informed on whether or not the river cleanup is going to move forward. Probably know something more in a few weeks here. And yes, I agree. We should keep it on the agenda and maybe have a little conversation about it and look at the details of what was done on the core and talk about it a little more, and maybe staff could help us plan it out.
Okay. I'll bring it forward once I get confirmation from either of the organizations.
Okay. Councillor McGonigal?
And I think we reach out to the tubing facility that did a river cleanup last year as well, and perhaps collaborate a tripartite approach. They did do a great job last year at the cleanup, and implementing local business to be involved is probably a great idea as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is B, river access at Prospect Avenue. I did send you the little write-up I have, and I have talked to some people today and over the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to read it all, but I will mention a couple of things. One of the things is residents complain about unsightly properties, and this is our unsightly property on the river. It's covered in Himalayan blackberry. The QEP has said we can clear it down to the river because it is a road right of way. I have two options. You can either leave it as a tangled mess forever, if that's what you so choose, or we clear it and we do a lot of extra signage and things. I won't go into all of that, but we'll put up lots of different signage, especially signage for Prospect of no parking, no exit, no turnarounds, that type of thing, residential parking only. My very final paragraph is, I don't believe this is a council decision. I think it's a management decision. So I would like to suggest, and I hope you'll agree, but we'll see what everyone says, that we ask our staff to take a look at the area and consider the pros and cons and all the options and cost of clearing, signage, etc., and bring a report back to the next park meeting, or we just keep this on the agenda until we've decided what the action is. I know residents are not happy. They don't want, some of them don't want it. But, you know, as I have to say, and I heard from someone today, we didn't ask the people that live near Saywell Park if we were, if the tubers were allowed to be taking over that area of town either, with a business and taking over the parking and all that. So I think we have to do what's right for all the residents of the community. People that don't get to live on the river themselves. And in one of the parts, I put a little spot because we go to this place in Parksville where every 2 blocks in between $1 million homes, there's access to the ocean, because the ocean doesn't belong to those homes. It belongs to all of us. So just, I'd like to put it forward to management, and I want to see what everyone else says. Councillor McGonigal.
Although I don't support it personally, I will be the judge and not the advocate. So I will ask that staff come back not only with a present day report, but also the historical report from when it was closed. I think that gives us a lot of information, because it was residents who came forward requesting that that be closed. So if we have that on hand somewhere to add, I would be happy to be a judge on this when it comes back.
Mayor Day, did you have? Oh,
Yeah, you know, and as far as when it comes to being a judge on this, I think we have to really ask ourselves, is it part of our strategic plan? Because it's going to involve a budget number, and it's going to require maintenance yearly after that. So I think that staff would probably be keeping that in mind as well. So happy to hear what they have to say, but I'm concerned that it might be taking away from maintaining other things that we already have in operation. Thank you.
Councillor Sandu, did you?
No, I was just gonna say, I support that this goes to staff for direction and recommendation.
Yeah. Dalton, did you have something? Your hands were? No, you're just waving. Okay, well, thank you then. Then I guess we just say direction to staff, and there's no great rush. I'm sure I said to people today that don't worry, it's not going to happen this year anyway, because our budget's done. So it doesn't have to be immediately. I'm sure the staff has a lot to do right now. So whenever the staff is ready to do a report, we're fine with that. Thank you very much for all that input. Speed signs on the river. I guess I'll mention this again. I do think we need to write a letter to Transport Canada. The 9.9 horsepower, and I did talk to someone about that today. Whoops, that's backwards because it's on the thing. But they're on this river at different places where people put their boats in. And there's already been ski-doos, or whatever you call them. What are they called? Ski-doos? Going up and down the river, jet skis already. There's been complaints already. And the RCMP have noted that they can't do anything about that if there's no signage. So are we able to, and how does everyone feel about getting a letter? The signs did used to be on the bridge. We need 4 signs. We need one at the weir to say that 9.9 horsepower on this river. It's a heritage river. You can't just put it, as far as I'm thinking, you can't just put it down at the campsite and have it there and not have it in at the headwaters of the Cowichan River. So can we do something like that? We did have a chap come last year, was it the year before? And he said he was going to do some signage, but we never saw him again. So, and I've had complaints. So I don't know if you've had complaints. I told them they have to phone the town. Don't phone me, but I've already had one complaint of a jet ski going down and getting liquor at the an establishment. So what's your pleasure, folks? Mayor Day.
Thank you very much. So I've been on the river in my kayak during tubing season, and witnessed jet skis going back and forth, and other smaller devices that are motorized as well. And I'm concerned about the safety aspect of this when it's a busy day, and from time to time those folks like to show off, and even when there's nobody around, it's quite annoying to see it go down a river. And I don't think it's safe, period. So I think it's a safety aspect, and I think I'd like to ask staff to find out what could be done to mitigate this activity on the river.
Yes, as I say, when the chap came last time, he did say he was going to supply signage, and he did not. So, and I know in most of the harbors around on the ocean, jet skis are banned because they are dangerous in between boats. So back to staff then for whatever, Mr. Fernandez. Oh, Councillor McGonigal.
And just taking into note that this is not our jurisdiction, but we did have a presentation by the Ministry of Transportation, and reaching out to that entity again as a follow-up would not be inappropriate. because there was an indication that signage could be afforded for that option. Just reaching out and checking on the status, whether or not they're available and who would put them up. Because
Yeah.
again, it's not our jurisdiction and entity. Would it be MOTI? Would it be the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Transportation?
Yeah.
And moving forward, just to reach out to see the activity level of placing those.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay. Transit shelters status. Is that Jazz? Have we lost Jazz? Where'd he go?
Right here, just listening.
Oh, he's beside Dalton. There he is. Okay. Did you have an update on the transit shelter status?
The transit shelter near Fields. We've got the pad in for the new one. We've been approved for a newer and larger one. Shelter there. We're just waiting on delivery. There's a company that delivers and installs them. We're just waiting on that.
Okay. And the one across from Country Grocer, that's later on? You're not?
That one is, it's being designed right now. Actually, I was just speaking with the engineer about half an hour ago on that. And as soon as he gets the design ready, then I got to send it into Ministry of Highways for their approval. And once that's done, we can start construction of it.
Oh, sounds good. That'll be great to have that there, I think. Any questions from council? No? Okay. Any notices of motion? Public relations items? I do kind of have one, and I think Lorna would have been mentioning this. June is Pride Month. Do we have the flag to put up for June Pride Month? You're muted. Sorry.
The group took it away last year, so they may bring it back.
Okay, do we have to contact them to bring it back then?
They usually contact us, so I'm not sure.
Just to, you know, because they did actually have a Pride Day the other day. So different places have it at different times, but I know June is our Pride Month. So, okay. Question period. Now we have a phone number of 749-6681. Oh, Councillor Sandu?
You had added an item of the lighted crosswalk.
Oh, totally. Sorry, I forgot. So many notes on my paper. Yes. I just wanted to bring that up to staff again. We did talk about it a while ago. And because of the tubers and all the traffic downtown at Saywell Park, is it possible to maybe bring that forward to MOTI and an ICBC to see if there's a chance of having a lighted crosswalk there? I know people said it was pretty hairy last summer. I'm not usually downtown a lot on the weekends, so I don't know. But is that something we could bring forward to MOTI and ICBC as a possibility?
Yeah, I'm sure we can ask oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think the superintendent's in discussions with ICBC on a number of issues. Maybe that's an item I'm not sure if we've broached.
Yeah, we can bring that issue up, and plus I believe that was one of the things in the active transportation study to complete that trail through there. So we can also add that into that part of it.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. Yes, Mayor Day?
Yes, thank you. Just a public relations item. For any of you who noticed, there was a lot of vehicles at the Tim Hortons this morning and in the Riverside parking lot. Those were the Fairy Creek protesters, and they governed themselves very peacefully and headed out towards the Fairy Creek area to do whatever it is they do. And just want to let everybody know that the RCMP has everything well in hand at this point and looking after things. So everything has been peaceful so far.
Good. That's good to hear. Thank you. Anything else from anyone else? No? Sorry, I missed that other thing. There's so many notes on my page now. Question period. So we have 3 minutes allotted to wait for people to either phone in or email. It's on the agenda. 749-6681 or general@lakecowichan.ca on anything that is on our agenda or was on the agenda this evening. So we'll wait till 6:08 and come back and see if we have any questions.
guy on Prospect too.
Okay, it's 6:08. I think we have a phone call. Okay.
I've got Neil co-chair on the phone, so I'll
Yes, I
let
got
you
an
speak.
email today. Yes, okay.
Hey, go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, just a couple items. Neil Cotter, we're at number 8,
Prospect?
yeah, on Prospect Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay, just calling in regards to speed on the river. You guys did have that documented in.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yes, we did. At 9.9 horsepower is the speed through Transport Canada on the river. Yes.
Yeah, that was in your meetings and it is online. I believe the speed all the way down to the trestle in Lake Cowichan is 8 kilometers an hour. And I think it's on the side. And then there is also that gentleman that was on before. He also said from the trestle going down to Duncan was 9.9 horsepower. That's what he had for the federal waterway.
Okay, and he was going to provide signage, but he is not. We just want signage there.
Yeah, but the restriction for 9.9 starts at the trestle and then goes all the way down to Duncan. So it doesn't come up through the town for jet skis or motorboats or anything like that. He does mention that in his in the meeting minutes that's recorded online.
No, usually in small areas, they say 5 kilometers per hour. We do a lot of boating on the ocean and it's 5K. I'm surprised that that's 8. I guess we'll have to check that out. Yeah. And well, if they have signage there, at least if we can get signage there, at least that would stop people going faster than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of tubers on the water or on the river. The other thing too is, obviously over concern on Prospect Avenue that's to be looked at. But the one point too that I'd like to bring up is possibly looking at something for the Central Park, better access signage. The sign was rotted out last year and was leaned into the bushes on the river. So people can see that there was bathrooms there to use or garbage cans. And I do know that on river cleanup, the divers even struggle to get out of there. So it's a bit concerning that the bathrooms that are available to tubers and people going down the river for garbage are not that well accessible or labeled to use. It'd be nice to see that cleaned up at some point before we go looking at creating another access for people to go into. I think the first one should be looked at first and then work our way through it.
Yes, I think that we discussed that. It was in one of our meetings that they discussed doing more work at Central Park. And I do think that the Tube Shack mentioned building a dock there to make it easier to go in and out because it is kind of uphill. The divers last year were slipping and sliding getting up there. So, and maybe some stairs. So I think, I don't know if that's in the budget, but I know we did discuss it. So.
No, perfect. That'd be great. And obviously, look forward to more discussions on Prospect Avenue, but hopefully they'll fade down quick.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for calling. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Got one more. Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
I've got one more.
Okay, whoops.
Hello?
Hi there.
Go ahead.
You hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'm trying to get on to comment on the Prospect access.
In one of our meetings that they discussed doing more work at Central Park, and I
What? Oh, I can't hear. Sorry. What address are you at on Prospect?
I'm number 4 Prospect.
Okay, right.
And the name?
My name is Daniel Seal.
Okay,
You just sent an email, so, right?
yeah, I've had a few today. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm concerned that on more than just that. I'm just kind of trying to figure out why we need access in that location when there's so many other locations that have access. Even on Prospect Avenue at the end of the road, there isn't access to get into the river. On Nelson, there's also, you know, the farmer's market location. There's just a tremendous amount, and I don't see any reason why in the summertime we're going to get a whole bunch of drunken tubers in that area causing havoc.
Well, it'll be going to staff to check it out, and nothing will probably happen this year anyway. There's nothing in the budget. It'll be discussions.
Speaking to, I'm sorry.
I said it's going to staff to look at, and it probably won't happen this year if anything happens, because we haven't got anything in the budget. But I did have some complaints and concerns about the unsightly property over the last few months, and I thought we'd bring this up and discuss it. So nothing's happening right away.
Unsightly property, I'd be happy to buy it from the town.
Well, that's another issue. No, and you have an email. Did you send an email? I can send you my little write-up that I did, and it's just me. It wasn't the rest of council. I just got facts and garnered facts from different things that we've done before. And I can do that later.
And if it's a concern over, you know, a couple of people that need access, I'd much rather allow access from my property, you know, and instead of creating a haven for, you know, in the evenings. I've even had to call the police in the evenings because people have been yelling and screaming about guns walking down the pathway. So I'd hate to have somebody like that have access to the river right beside my house and party on a little pathway all night long.
Are you in that little yellow house?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. Appreciate your call.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Dan Seal has also sent an email. I'll forward it to council. He's basically addressed some of the issues.
yes, I got 3 today, so that's fine, because I talked to some people in the last couple of days. So, okay, that's good. Thank you. That's good. We're just getting it out to discussion, and we'll see where it goes. Is that it for everything on there?
Yes.
Thank you. It's good to have some questions for a change. I'm pleased with that. So I guess we'll call for adjournment. Councillor McGonigal, Mayor Day, all in favor? And let's just come back in 5 minutes. No point in waiting a whole 10. So it's 6:20. We can walk around and get a drink of water or